Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone can have to turn it as a collective sign. I thought it was for me, but evidently it's not. So thanks for that. However, welcome to Waterstones Piccadilly. I'm super delighted to have all you here, so many of you as well, for two fantastic reasons. The first being this fantastic book, Happy Mum, Happy Baby, and the second being the fantastic woman behind it. You all know who that is, right? Does everyone not know who it is? Didn't think so. I do waffle a lot, so I'm not going to waffle too much. Just a quick house rules. You are all being filmed. We are on Facebook Live. Say hi to your mum and dad. And show the best. It's facing this way, so it's not too on you. We will be taking pictures. I'm sure Giovanna will vlog at some point about this. So you'll all be on famous TV somewhere. There will be a signing at the end. Please do stay in your seats at the end of the talk so we can get them to their signing table, and we will kind of bottleneck you out slowly, so please bear with us while we do that. Technical term, I assure you. Told you waffling. So without further ado, please do welcome Giovanna Fletcher and Liz Goscott.
Warm welcome. I'm Viv Groscott, and I'm a writer and a comedian. I don't know how useful that's going to be this evening, we shall see. And I'm very thrilled to be hosting the first event for this book, which hasn't even come out yet, has it? And it's already a bestseller, amazingly. It's been described already in one of the reviews as brutally honest. Was that your intention?
Hi, I'm Giovanna, happy to be here. I think when I first started thinking about what I was going to do in non-fiction, being like writing about motherhood seemed to be the most obvious thing to do. You know, I use books, I use words, surprisingly, and I write books anyway, and I was going through something massive in my life, and it just felt like it was the most obvious place to go. And I just had to think about, if I was going to do it, what would I do with it? Did I want to write an advice and tip book? No, because I don't know anything. So what would that be? And actually, from what I've been doing online, I found that the thing that connects the most is when you're honest and when you're truthful. And I thought, actually, that's the kind of book that I want to write. I want to write a book that is honest, that says, I get it wrong so much. And just kind of... And actually, I was asked today about, did you think about what you were putting in there? And for me, the best way to write this book was to just write everything. And then at the end of it, if I suddenly thought, oh, I don't want to share that, I could take it out. I actually didn't take anything out at the end of it, because once you've written it all, I'll stop soon. Once you've kind of written the whole thing, you kind of actually, that bit at the beginning needs to be there, because that kind of sets up who I am and the mother that I am. So, that's a very long-winded answer. But
well, let's talk a bit about who you are before you were a mother, because you're already a best-selling writer as a novelist, you've been an actress, you are also well known as a wife to some extent.
That's true.
When did you realise that being a mum could also be part of your career?
Well, I think I've got it easy because my blog has always been called Giovanna's World, and my YouTube is Giovanna's World, although that's set up after, but Giovanna's World, I took the easy route, and so I didn't have to go, I want to be a fashion person, I can only write about fashion, or I can only write about makeup. I was like, actually, it's because my life was quite varied anyway. I was already blogging about everything that I was doing, so I didn't have one channel that I had to go down, and that's still true now. Like, I'm not just a mum. That phrase just does make me laugh. But that's not the only thing that goes on in anyone's life. You've already got all these other things that you're doing. So I could,
How did you start out having that platform and deciding to use social media?
I was acting, and it wasn't going well. Well, it was going well. I was in a play called Backbeat in Glasgow, and it was amazing. And I stayed up there for 6 weeks. And when you do a play, you end up in this bubble. So we'd gone to Glasgow, we were there for a while, and I loved it. Absolutely loved being part of that life. And then there was, talk of it transferring to the West End, and it just seemed like never ending, like nothing was happening, and I just felt really negative and I just felt like I had to really force myself to find the positives, and I could find myself being dragged under and feeling like I didn't have control of anything. And so a friend of mine handed me The Secret, and which I'd actually read before, and it kind of changed my outlook on everything. And so the blog was started.
People know what The Secret is, right?
If you don't, then you've got to read it. The Secret will change your outlook on life. Like, to me, I read it.
I have to note, it is quite controversial.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I read it in 1998, and it completely changed my outlook on life. Like the law of attraction, and it just makes you a better person. What you give out, you get back. If you give positivity, you get positivity back. I just think it makes sense in my brain that happens. So that kind of changed my outlook on life anyway. And so after Backbeat, I knew that I needed to keep my positivity going. And so I started a blog, and it was literally stuff like happy quotes, or quotes that made me go, yeah, life is great. Pictures of the day that something had happened and made me go, like just something that moved me. And so I had all these, not even happy stuff, because obviously we're all complex, and there are times where, you know, and I guess that is the thing about The Secret, when you're constantly trying to find this positivity and stuff, and actually there are times where it's just crap. It is difficult, but it's allowing that stuff to happen, and then having this little bubble where it was positive. But that's where I started blogging, and then I started doing book reviews on there, and then I kind of became an author just because of doing book reviews on there. And well, I was doing book reviews for Heat magazine as well, so two side by side. But yeah, I met a book agent after doing a book review. And she just said to me, have you ever thought about writing a book? And so that opened that path. And I kind of feel like paths have kind of like opened up because I've done certain things, if that makes sense.
Well, you obviously like to do a lot of creative things, and you like to keep busy, but you're very clear in this book that one of your main goals in life was to have a family, ever since you were a girl.
Yeah. And I can remember, I looked at my mum, and she'd look after us three girls, married, not a girl. Marion, as we should know, Marion, the secret's out. We do call him Marion sometimes. She looked after us three, and that, for us, like, you kind of look to, you become what you see in many ways, and I thought that was my role as a woman as well. And, you know, one of my favourite all-time films is The Sound of Music, and I wanted to be Maria. And Mary Poppins, she's, you know, okay, her parenting techniques are a little bit skew-with, but I think the female roles that I looked to in life, that I had as role models at that time, were mothers. So I did think I was going to be making clothes out of curtains and running around the hills singing. And it's not like that. But yeah, so being a mum is, I always thought I would be. I'm surprised I'm doing so much whilst being a mum. But I think that's a part of our generation, and life has changed, life has evolved. We don't have to kind of go, I'm having a child and I'm not doing anything else, which you can do if that's what you want to do. I think the options are open now.
Yeah, well, let's talk a bit more about that in a minute. But I was just thinking about how the book opens with you being quite disappointed about finding it difficult to start a family. Can you tell us?
I think because I wanted it so much. I always knew that I wanted to be a mum, and I think because you know that you want something so much, there was this thing in the back of my mind, always being like, well, what if you can't? And it's one of those things that you don't know until you start trying. And me and Tom have been together a long time by the time, you know, it's like, not how is it not happening, because you're careful, you know, you're not a kid. But, it's like, no scares at all, and you're kind of like, you don't know if it's going to happen until you start trying. And then, so before that, I found out that I had PCOS. Basically, I was getting really hairy.
Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah. So I was getting really hairy, getting spots on my back, and putting on weight. Basically, I come off the pill. This is me, okay? I'm like constantly just like this. This is me in my mind. I come off the pill, and I hadn't had a period for a year. This is a complete overshare. If you don't like this, you're not going to like the book. Nothing happened. So I went to the doctor, and I was told that I had PCOS. And at the time, I wasn't married. I think I was engaged. And the doctor handed me a leaflet, and on it said fertility. And I was like, what's that? And she was like, oh, no, don't worry about that. You're not there. You're not there. I was like, okay, but I am getting married. So she prescribed me with this horrible pill. which was deathly, like literally made by the devil. And my friend was pregnant at the time, and I felt like I was going through morning sickness and everything, like worse than she was, and I wasn't even pregnant. So that was the kind of start of everything. But it all turned out fine. It all turned out fine on that scale, because I found a really nice doctor who put me on a completely different pill, and then metformin, and that kind of, it took a while, it kicked things off. Actually, it didn't take a while. So I started taking metformin in, I think, September, and then in December I found out I was pregnant, and then I had a miscarriage quite soon after finding out I was pregnant. And I think at the time, in my head, I thought this was too easy. It's too easy. You knew there was going to be difficulty. You thought it was going to be difficult. You didn't know. And then I think when it did happen, I was like, that was easy, wasn't it? I didn't like the fact that it was easy. And then, not long after that, I miscarried. So in my head, that's kind of, I thought, not that I thought that would happen, but I thought it was too easy. And then it took another 6-7 months to get pregnant again. Because then even though I'm metformin, my cycles are just going crazy. I guess everyone's on their own journey when becoming pregnant, so you can't really compare when someone falls pregnant in 1 month to someone already pregnant in, you're all on your different journeys to getting there. I know people hate the word journey, get over it, it's journey. And it's a word. So you're all going through it. You shouldn't. I don't think you should ever feel bad for how you're coping, because it's you. You're not going through whatever Sue down the road's going. You can feel sorry for her. You can feel like sympathy or empathy for her. You can be there for her, but that's not your. You can only deal with what's going on with you. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So now you have 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, right? Mm-hmm. And you share everything as you are now about your lives together and your lives as a mum. But at what point of that story did you start sharing your sort of pregnancy journey and your miscarriage journey? Were you
I've never spoken about miscarriage. Actually, this is the first time I spoke about it in public. It's in the book, and I've never blogged about it. I've never blogged about it. I've never put it in anywhere else. And I wanted to put it in the book. Well, I started writing, because I think I said at the top, I started writing and I thought if I don't want to put it in there, I don't have to. And I put it in there because I think there are lots of people who go through it, and actually it's that people don't talk about it. You're told not to talk about things until you get to 12 weeks, so you're in the safe zone. I didn't tell my family, so that means that when it did happen, I hadn't told anyone. There was no one, and all you really want is you want all the people around you to just give you a cuddle, and no one knew. So I do think that it has to be in there so that people know that they're not alone, that it's really crap, and if it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have bus now. So that for me, I say in the book, here's my silver lining, and
How many weeks were you when you miscarried?
6.5, so really early. I think it's that. I can remember everything about that journey into town, going to the doctors, and
And that really coloured your perception of pregnancy afterwards, didn't it? Because your experiences of pregnancy are not innocent. When you have your first baby, because you're constantly worried it's going to happen again.
Yeah, everything that you feel, you're like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? Every time you go to the loo, you're like, you kind of cringe. You look like, this is totally TMI from the guy in the room. But every time you kind of look at the tissue after you wipe, and you're kind of like, so I felt really nervous the whole way through the first pregnancy, actually both of them, to be honest. And once I got to the viable stage, I did feel, which 23 weeks when everything's, safer. I felt myself relaxed. But we delayed telling anyone about being pregnant with Buzz until I was 19 weeks. Just because I kind of wanted it. I didn't want to say it and then have to retract it.
So when did you become a sort of public mummy vlogger? At what point did that become part of the story?
Well, vlogging only happened, Buzz was 6 months old, maybe 5 months old, and Tom, my husband, and my sister-in-law were already vlogging. They were doing YouTube stuff. and they said to me, you know, you should do this. And at the time, either I was with Buzz or I was writing. So when you're a writer, everything is you're on your own all the time. You don't get to talk to people. It sounds really lonely. It is. You know, you live in your imagination, and as a songs that I think you're really good at it, blah blah blah. And the best thing you ever told me is treat the camera like it's your friend. And so I started talking to this camera, and I just felt like, I don't know, I had weeks, I'd say I missed a week. I felt like I hadn't seen a friend for a week. It was really bizarre, and it's completely, like, to anyone who's never done it, you're probably thinking that's just crazy, it's a piece of equipment. But yeah, it just kind of opened up a whole other world, I guess, and a whole other community and this support network. And people always say that the world of the internet is a bad place. It's not. It's really not. From what I found, from my experience, there's a whole, there's so much support, so much encouragement. There's a lovely corner. It's not even a corner. It's a whole area. Yeah, and it's gorgeous, and I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it.
And as a new mum, what were the things that you were able to talk about online and discuss with other people that were really important to you and that made a difference?
Oh. So I don't think I'm ever really good at analysing anything. I think I just go through something in the moment and then just share it. Because I think if I sit and analyse, then, or think about, okay, I'm going to do a video here that's about sleeping or not sleeping, or video here. I find it really difficult because then you're not authentic, you're not doing things organically, and for me, I'd rather just go through it and share. And I don't share everything. You know, this book's the most I've ever shared. Yeah, because it's only so long in that each video, and you're only talking about, you can't keep harping on about sleeping. You can, Facebook Live, so that's where that's at. But it's known everything's got a place. Yeah, no, I think I see how I feel in the moment about how much I want to share and then go with it. But that doesn't mean I hold things back, it's just deciding how I learn things. And
yeah, sleeping is something that comes up the whole time in this book.
I don't want to sleep.
And it also came up in there's a really lovely video that you shared a couple of days ago of it's crowdsourced, lots of mums talking about the things that you've talked about that made a difference to them, and a lot of it is about sleep, and a lot of it is about identity and being able to say to other people, I feel like I've just lost my sense of self. Do you feel like that helped you to get through, knowing that all those other people were out there?
Definitely, and I think that's the most powerful thing the internet has given us as mums. It's made us all go, we're not alone. We're feeling completely shattered, we're so we've been plucked from our lives and put somewhere completely new, where the main, we've got to look after these little humans, and our life as we know it is completely shifted and changed, and that's not a bad thing, but you're completely going through something different, and some of us, our friends aren't going through it, and so you do feel alone. And so I think having those blogs to turn to, having those blogs, anything, and I'm not talking about me, I've found people on the internet that I turn to, like Mumsy Mum, Mother Pucker, people who kind of make me just go, yes, God, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one to think those thoughts. Because 3 weeks into having Buzz, I was like, what have I done? I'm not maternal, I've not got a maternal bone in my body. I can't do this. Can I send him back? No. There's those thoughts. They're just like, I'm so unreasonable. What is wrong with me? How can I be having those thoughts? But then you realise there's so many other people who have those thoughts. And it doesn't make you a bad mum. You just got to kind of ride it.
So when you were having those thoughts, did you just immediately put them out there, hoping that...
Oh no, because I wasn't blogging or vlogging at the time. Right. I was blogging, but it was still... I was sharing my sleepless nights, but nothing kind of like those thoughts. Yeah, in fact, I think maybe the first time I've shared those are really in this book. You kind of forget. I think that's a good thing. You kind of lose track of what you have and haven't shared. So it's like just talking to friends. I don't know what I've told a good friend of mine. It's just.
Well, there's a moment in the book when you talk about the first few weeks, and that one great piece of advice you had, I think it's from a midwife, is breastfeeding is a nightmare, and it will take at least 2 weeks to crack.
Yeah.
So don't feel a failure in the first few days, and it's hanging on to those bits of advice.
It is.
That gets you through.
It took me weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. In fact, I'd say it got to 3 months and I was suddenly like, whoa, what just happened? This became easy. But 3 months of like not getting there at all. And I put so much pressure on myself to kind of go for it and get it right. And that's something that came up in the video that I made this week. I don't know if you've seen it, but I made a video this week. A lot of the mums said that they wanted to get it right. And I think that's something that we're told far too much about parenting. You've got to get it right. There's a right way to parent. You know, you've got to do this because it's right. No, there isn't. There's a right way for you, and that's all that matters. So I had this pressure about breastfeeding. And it's only when a good friend of mine said, you know, if you can stop. Because I was crying to her on the phone, and I was about to go to Manchester and on tour with Tom and the boys, and it just all felt a bit much. And those days, you know, you're really emotional and everything. And my friend just said, you can just stop. If you don't want to do it, stop. And I just suddenly went, yeah, I can do that. That's a really good idea. I don't want to though. And I think with letting myself come to that conclusion, it's not something that I'm being forced to do. And that just changed my mindset on it. And actually, we then went to Manchester and had 2 weeks just to ask no visitors. And actually, it just meant I could just have my boobs out all the time, and it was, you know, and not have that pressure of trying to fit feeds in places and worrying about doing things discreetly and stuff.
And looking at your experience and the other mums that you talk to all the time, what are the things that you think mums now feel quite judged about and worry about the most?
Breastfeeding is obviously a big one. Dummies. I use dummies. Suck it. That's such a good time. I did that kids on my day. But only when they go to sleep, that helps them. Obviously, not. And to be honest, before I was a mum, I was like, my kids are not going to have gummies. No, they don't need that pacifier. They don't need that piece of plastic. Yes, they do. They do. It's called a pacifier for a reason. Yes, the dummies. Food. Whether you're weaning them with a spoon or whether you're everything is up for judgment. I mean, where does the list end? Even when you first start, if you fall pregnant in the first month or you have to go through IVF, there's a judgment. Yeah, there's a judgment when you had it easy. Okay. So for now, the rest of motherhood, you're not allowed to complain because you had it easy because you fell pregnant in the first month. And on the flip side, you have IVF and you've gone through all of that. Don't you dare moan, because that baby's a miracle. No, it's difficult, and we get shocked all the time.
I was just sort of remembering about there's a bit in the book where you talk about co-sleeping as well. That's a huge area of contention. Yeah. Where are you up to with that now?
They don't go into their beds at 7, and Buzz, he likes to climb into our bed. Sometimes he just climbs in and we don't know. And I wake up in the morning and I'm like, wow, how did you climb over me to get there? But he started sleeping, sometimes he comes in about 20 to 7. It's so funny trying to get him to stay in his room. We tried a grow clock, he switched it off. It's so annoying. It got to the point last week where he went to bed with a watch on, Tom's watch, and he knows that when he hits 7, he's about to come into having done his room. But that's off now. But yeah, the thing is when he comes into our bed, he starts pinching me. It's a really annoying habit, and I don't know where he picked it up from. I can remember him doing it when he was probably about 8 months old, and I used to work in a nursery, and I remember being told there was one girl who, when she used to go to sleep, she used to pinch because it was like comforting to her. And I used to think that was so weird. And now I've got one that does that. I mean, that's and he does it still now. He's 3 next month, and if he comes in, he gets the really tender bit, and he just really pinches. And if you try and bat him away a little bit, he'll just go in and try, and then if he's off your arm, if you pull the duvet up where you are, he gets the bits in there. I can't escape this. But yeah, so he's quite good at staying in his bed. And if he comes in and it is in the middle of the night, now we have started to take him back to his cozy cone, we call it, just like in Cars, because that's what he calls Sally's. Anyone watches Cars, that's what he calls Sally's cone, the cozy cone. What is that hotel called? It's not called the Cozy Cone Hotel, is it? Is it? That's where we got it from. But we just nicked it. Just pitched it. So he calls his bed that, so we just kind of take him back to the cozy cone. But he loves me at night. Both boys, it's me. They don't want Tom. And I think it is from feeding them. I think it's from breastfeeding them. They've had that thing. It's mum that we have at night. And even when I stop being Buzz, that he still wants me. At night time, he's like, get off, Dad. So in the daytime, he's like, no, Mummy, I want Daddy. I'm like, you remember that 2 in the morning, okay? I'm going to hold you to that.
And there's a lot of talk on your channels about getting your life back, and when do you get your life back? When does anyone ever get their life back? When has that happened for you, or has it not happened yet? The little one's just turned 1, hasn't he? Do you feel like you've got your life back?
It's very difficult.
You're never going to get the same life back
I've
again?
just got a very different life. Like, I don't know what that, in my head, I can't figure out where that would put me. Like, having my life back, I don't want that. I don't want to be going out on a Saturday night. I'm not interested in it. And also, books has kind of taken over, so if I'm not with the boys, I'm writing. I have come to the conclusion lately that the majority of the time I see Buzz, Buddy and Tom, and that's it. And I've come to the conclusion that that probably isn't healthy. I do have to venture outside sometimes. Because me and Tom went on a date a little while ago, and for my birthday, so about a month ago. And we were out, and I think I just feel myself like looking at people. Talking. Like, you just kind of go, this is real life, and I'm just like, this is amazing. They're laughing over there, oh, look at them, and trying to have a glass of wine, I wonder what they're doing. And you kind of not living in the moment because you're just so in awe of everyone just having a nice Saturday night. But yeah, I don't know if I've got my life back. It's very different. It's very full. I don't know. I think that again, that's a pressure. Oh, you haven't got enough me time. What if I don't want me time? What if me time is me and my family? People are going to judge that, but you don't want time on your own. What kind of person are you? You know, anything you answer, people judge. And I think we just need to be at a point where we're just focusing on ourselves, what makes us happy, and not judging other people, because what other people decide to do has no effect on you. It really doesn't. Unless they're mistreating their child, then it's got no effect on you. I think.
Very wise. But you do have you have lots of things about your relationship with your husband that are unusual in that. Well, compared to most, that's another conversation. You're not ordinary. You are ordinary in some ways, but you're not in others. But the one way in which I think you are quite unusual, even in your generation, is that you've been together a long time, haven't you? You've been together about 13 years, right? Longer than that.
Sorry.
Why do I know this?
13 years, sorry. Yeah, 13 years, but we met when we were 13. That's why it's tricky nowadays, because it's the same number. We met when we were 13, and on my first day at Sylvia's, walked into assembly, the biggest theatre school time. And this is why I am the way I am, love it. I'm going to regret that later. I walked into Sylvia's, into the assembly hall, and there was only like 20-something people in each class, and you have to sit alphabetically. And my first day at school, I sat next to Tom, and he turned to me and was like, what's your name? I was like, my name's Giovanna, but you can call me G. Because I say that because no one can ever say Giovanna. He was like, my name's Tom, but you can call me T. And that was it, I fell in love, and it took us a few years. I think we dated for 3 days straight away, and then we dumped me. Through his ex-girlfriend. Yeah. And then he went with her like for 3 weeks, and then decided that actually it was me that he liked. And then I let him spend 2 years to get me back, and made him work hard. In the meantime, he did snog all of my friends. So anytime I was nearly there, we'd go, I'll give this another shot. He'd snog a friend, and I was like, well, you shot yourself in the foot there. And then we were 15, we started dated for a year, split up at the end of Sylvia's because he lived in Harrow and I lived in Essex, and it seemed like miles away. And then got back together when we were 18, and then been back together ever since. That was a really long-winded answer. So I don't think the question was even there.
I just think it's quite unusual because there are a lot of people now who don't meet the person that they're going to be with for quite a long time, and then they have to get pregnant sort of as fast as they can because they're both getting older. So do you feel that you have a sort of an advantage in a way that you had a long time together before the kids came along?
Maybe, but I think maybe, but we've grown up together, so probably we've been through some idiotic moments together that people that get together when they're older don't go through because they're more mature. They've not driven off in a huff, or I don't know. But I do think when people get together when they're like 20, I think when people who have got together later on in our relationship, they got married, like they got engaged quicker, or stuff just happened quicker. I think when you're together so young, you both just think your kids do it. Like it just seems things that like adults do. You don't really, you're not there. Not that you're not there because you want it, but I just think it when you, I think that's what I think.
And how has it affected how you think about your career? Do you think of yourself, you must think of yourself as a working mother, you are a working mother.
Yeah. What else? Yes, definitely.
But you're a very kind of stay-at-home working mother, and that's a fairly new concept, isn't it?
Bloody hard, that. Because you've got your kids at home. And I'm really, really, really fortunate in the fact that we've got an amazing set of parents who take care of our children when we've both got to work. It's amazing. Big up Bob and Debbie and Mum and Dad, Facebook Live.
You're getting a break and not watching this.
Tom's at home now, they're fine. This is how we catch up. My mum would be like, do you watch a vlog? I didn't know you were doing that. I'm like, what, Mum? Like, well, you just said I didn't know you were doing that. No, I'm so sorry. But yeah, we have an amazing set of parents. But I do think that working from home is difficult because your time is kind of divided and you're always in the one place and you can be distracted really easily. Like, so you start writing a book and the washing needs to get done. You can start thinking about it, and all of a sudden you've done a whole day of chores and the book's not written. So there are disadvantages that come with it. And it's funny, when I first started, because I was already writing when I had Buzz. And actually I remember hearing that one author who had a baby, she used to write. So she'd write, the baby used to be in a bouncer, and she'd just kind of rock it with her foot while she was writing. I tried that, that's what I thought writing with a baby was going to be like. I tried it. No. You want it to be held all the time, it's like one-handed typing while feeling awful because you're not paying them any attention. Quickly I learned I actually had to do something and not have him with me while I was trying to work, because it wasn't beneficial for either of us. I think it's really difficult when you come to that conclusion that you actually can't do both at the same time, literally at the same time. Because you can do everything, just not at the same time.
And how do you think your experience differs from, say, your mum's experience of raising kids? Because that was your role model, that you wanted to create that same kind of family.
I honestly don't know how she did it. I look at even shopping, how she went shopping with the three of us. Like, me and Georgie would be putting full-on strops, and Mary would be looking under, like, a change room curtains, trying to look at the ladies in their bras. So I don't know how she coped. We had a lot of hisses. If you don't stop it, I'm going to take you home right now. And on the bus. She didn't drive, so she took our three kids on the bus shopping. I'm online shopping now. That's like breastfeeding at night, online shopping. Yay! That's what I do to, I'm in awe sometimes. And 3 under 5 as well. And I was a horrible child. I was actually, this is really sad. I had Louis, and I used to be really, really horrible. I used to go places and just out of pure frustration and not being able to hear, I was literally like a little devil child. I used to hit people, go on the floor, like, think toddler tantrum, but times it by whatever. And to the point where I was taken to a board of governors and they were like discussing me and stuff. And I only heard about this recently. My mum said that sometimes, your parents kind of tell you snippets, you're trying to put it all together. She said that one day she took me to this board and she knelt down in front of me and she said, "Now, Giovanna, this is really serious. You need to be on your best behaviour today." And she said, I went into that room and I was a completely different child. And they ended up going to the hospital, finding out that I had blue ear. And as soon as they sourced it out, I was a completely different child. So add that into having 3 children under 5, the little devil in the middle. That's me. I don't know how to do it. I really don't.
But do you think that it is, easier is kind of the wrong word, but it's a more of a shared experience, I think, now because of online and all the support that you can get. Do you think that's a positive thing for mums now?
Yeah, but also the judgment is much closer. So, if my mum would have had judgment from her side, but I guess it's different for me because I kind of put my life out there, but we all do to a certain extent. And so she, I don't know. I think it's all very different. It's hard to compare the two. It's a difficult one.
Okay, I'm going to open up to audience questions in a second, but I wondered, looking back at the last couple of years since you've become a mum, what have been the things that you would perhaps do differently? Or do you think it's a mistake to have regrets and you just got to...
Well, they're both all right, so I've done something right. I wouldn't have worried so much at first. I think having my second kind of made me see how scared I was of Buzz. From the moment he arrived, I was like, wow. And he was tiny, he was 6'2", which isn't tiny. I know they were smaller, but for me, I was like, I wasn't expecting this little sparrow. And just feeling like he was so fragile and being quite scared. And when the midwives came in and they used to change his, to do tests and stuff, and they just kind of be really quite rough with him, I'd be like, whoa, that's my baby. Whereas I think you learn that actually, that's fine. That's not to be rough, but they're not this little bird that you've got to kind of do that with, you know. And I think, sadly, I enjoyed Buddy a lot more in those early weeks because I'd been through it all before, and I knew what to expect. So I guess the challenges were different because I had a 1-year-old and a newborn. But I definitely tell myself to give myself a break and just breathe. Yeah.
That's great advice. Great. Any questions? Yeah. Do we have microphones, or are people just going to go for it? No, just go for it. We can hear you.
Hi. I completely empathise with your similarity in your breastfeeding story. I remember I went to a breastfeeding clinic and I've got a 3.5-month-old, and she was 6 weeks and I still hadn't got the hang of it, and there was one there and their kid was 3 months old. I was like, oh, I felt relieved that it takes a lot longer than people can say. But the question I did have, my daughter's 3.5 weeks now, and we've got 2 kids, two roughly. Today's the first time I've actually got anywhere on time, and I was 2 months late. How do you get out of the house and get to places on time, and also explain to people that, you know, you've got a kid, but at the same time haven't been you should have done things earlier?
Yes, there's no excuse. I pack everything like before, and I find this really fascinating as well, how different me and Tom are. If I've got somewhere to go the next morning, and I know that we need to get out of the house by 9, their bags are packed. I know what they're doing. I know what they were wearing. The breakfast bowls are out the bowls, the cereal, it's all on the table laid out. I know, so even then, like, I can be there at 10 to 9 and go, oh my god, I'm meant to be there in 10 minutes. That can still happen. Whereas Tom has no planning. If I'm not there, there's none of that. And I don't know how he manages to get places on time, but he still manages. But yeah, my whole thing, I think, is organisation. And I really like it. It makes me feel really satisfied going to bed, knowing that I've taken a little bit of that chaos away. Because you can't pack a bag and look after 2 kids at the same time. It's just, yeah. That's one of the jobs that's got to be done when they're asleep, for me.
So everybody should go home now and lay their breakfast table.
I know, it sounds really glamorous. It's literally 2 plastic bowls and then put some Weetabix.
Yes, thank you. That was a lovely question.
Have you enjoyed writing this book more than your fiction books, or has it just been a completely different?
Yeah, it's completely different. I think, and also, because I had a party last night with all my friends and family, to celebrate this. And my dad's been reading it. And my dad's the first one to read all of my books. And usually with fiction, I can hide behind characters, like certain things have happened because this character's the character choice, it's not me. Whereas this, it's me. I think I felt really anxious this week, knowing that this is out and that people are going to know so much. But now that it is being read, I actually feel a huge sense of relief, and I'm starting to feel even more proud of it, if that makes sense. Yeah, I just feel like it's something really special. I actually think it's something that we'll treasure, because it's kind of like the easiest way for me to keep a baby diary, because I've never done it. And so turn that into work, and ta-da! But yeah, it's a completely different experience. And there's some bits that are easier and some bits that are harder, because you're talking about the emotion behind things. But I think it's best in any of my writing not to question myself whilst writing. It's best to just get it out and then to go back afterwards and go through it. But yeah, totally different. In a good way. I'd like to do more, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, over here.
So you're still very much in the trenches, as it were. So why write this book now, while it's still such a raw thing that's happening?
Because it's about babies, and I've got a baby, and I've had a baby. So
You've actually got two.
Got two babies. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. No, but I have a baby, and I had a baby before that. Yeah, it was all fresh in my brain, fresh in my mind. And it was coming up a lot. People asking me if I was going to write a book, a non-fiction, would I write a book about being a mum? And it would come up in every Q&A. It would come up on every Facebook Live. And different people, not the same person all the time. My mum. And it wasn't a no-brainer. It wasn't one of those things where I just like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll write my books, I write books, and it'll be really easy. I wanted to think about if I was going to add a book to that space, what I was going to add to it, and I didn't want to do something that was just the same as everyone else's. And I think it would be weird to write a book like this 5 years down the line. Like, why write a book about babies when your children are 6? I don't know. I'm going through it. I've got a child who's almost 3. It feels like the perfect time to do it. And actually, writing it while Buddy was kind of going through, those early stages kind of reminds you as well. And although you shouldn't spend your time comparing, it's a relief going, oh, this is so much easier, that's why now.
And it's raw.
It's raw, it's right there. Yes.
Hello. Now that you're a mum, what's the best advice that you could give to someone who's still trying to conceive?
I don't know. That's a really tough one. Just keep going. After my miscarriage, my dad said to me, he literally used this analogy. It's literally like riding a horse. Falling off and getting back on again. It's like, thanks, Dad. And he has such words of wisdom. I mean, I don't know what this hypothetical questions who the person go through, but there is help out there, and I feel really lucky to have come to the end, like where I am. I don't know. Sorry. Just keep hopeful.
Thank you. Yes.
I was wondering what made you choose your baby's name. Do you have any inspiration?
Buzz Lightyear and my friend's a good person. Buzz we had years and years and years ago, and then when
Buzz is the actual name on the passport.
Yeah.
Okay.
As in
Just
Buzz
checking.
Aldrin, the
Just
man who was
checking.
in space. Don't get much more inspiration.
Buddy is the actual name on the passport. I'm just checking. Look, there's lots of people have like nicknames. I'm just checking.
No, these are their names. And we had a few Buzz, and in fact, he was on the cars like 5 years before. When you're like, when we have kids, we're going to call him Buzz. And then when we actually got pregnant, we were like, no, we're not going to call Buzz. And then it just kind of went off the list. We had a massive list that was like a working list for a long time. And then the closer we got to the end, we kind of took names off, and we were actually left with 2, and neither of them were Buzz. And 3 weeks before I gave birth, we were like, what about Buzz? So we got added to the list, and on the day, it could just be no other name. He was Buzz. And the same is true with Buddy, really. You kind of. And Buddy wasn't one of the leftover names from before, which I find really interesting, because you think, well, you've got that pool of names, you're just going to go back to it. But it felt like it was a completely different child, I know that. I am aware. But it just felt really different, and it felt like a new list, a new some, so it was just a name that we really, really loved. There are amazing Buddies in the world, Buddy. And not named after that, but it's just kind of like, that's actually a really cool name, and we love it, and it's actually much more common than what people think. Piers Morgan hates my children's names. He hates a lot of things in life, I don't feel that.
I was going to say, that's the best recommendation for them.
Because I really enjoy watching it, so if I'm telling you, she ain't in what? No, please. Baby. Yes, there was somebody here, yes.
Your life, like a lot of it is online, and like for other people like starting up blogs, how do you know like where the line is with stuff on the internet? Like even with your children as well, like do you ever think like maybe they'll kind of grow up and go, Mom, why did you put up there?
I think it's purely down to the individual. and what you feel comfortable with sharing. I look at some mummy bloggers and vloggers, and I haven't gone as far as they have, but it's completely down to what you feel comfortable with doing. I do think about what I put up, and sometimes, like before writing this book, I was like, I am not going to have my children's face splattered all over this book. It's not going to happen. And then I started writing the book, and I was like, it's a celebration of our journey, our adventure. It's on the book. Our adventure together, and it just made sense to have them in it because it was like celebrating it. And so I do think about it, and online I'll go through moments where there might not be a face, and I just kind of go, do I need to share that? Do I need to? And if I don't feel like, I just try not. Each moment's different. But I think it's down to the individual and what you feel like sharing. And we're all going to be embarrassing mums, let's face it. Yes, go ahead. That's a great question.
I haven't started vlogging.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a YouTube channel. There's 2 videos on it only for like music, but I wanted, because I watch your videos, Tom's and loads of other people who've got kids and stuff, like literally loads and loads, and I have to catch up every night. It's quite sad. But I wanted to start vlogging, but I wanted to not put my face in it. I wanted to put like my whole world, like my day and stuff, but I'm so nervous. And I look
the best way to get over that is to start doing it. That's the only way. Put the camera on and start. Because you don't have to, you can film and not upload. You can film, edit it together and use that as practice.
Because it'd be on my phone, so I'd have to upload on computer.
Yeah, just start filming and doing it and seeing how you feel. Because I think it's perfectly fine to watch and love watching and not feel like you have to do. That's absolutely fine. Not everyone has to do it. But if it becomes something that you really feel like you have to do, because it's hard.
Was you like nervous? Because I know Tom vlogged, but I don't know whether he put you in it because you were in his vlogs first. So I don't know whether you just copied him or was it you like wanted to do it?
Did he make you do it?
Yeah.
He said, wife, if you don't make my dinner and then go vlogging, you're divorced. No, I think it's a really good big commitment, and it's not something that someone else can force you into doing because it's a lot of the time. I think people don't really realise that 3 minutes of video, it takes a lot. Like last week, the whole week was spent slaving over that video that I made this week, and it was the biggest edit I've ever done. Pure sweats the whole time. I've got some heating issues in my office right now. It was 27 degrees. I was literally like, that's it, I can't stop, I've got to keep going. And it's not easy, I think. But if you want to do it, and you've got to apply yourself and just keep going. Good advice. Yes, there's one at the back here, yes.
As a working mum, do you suffer with mother's guilt?
Yeah.
And how do you handle that?
I think the biggest thing with mum's guilt is just realising that everyone else is going through it. And I like to kind of check in with myself every now and then, because if I'm feeling like I just don't have the balance right, I stop and I reassess and I try and juggle, which I can. Well, I say I can do, but I've got loads of deadlines, and it's actually, I'm looking at the people from my publishers, loads of deadlines, and it's not always so easy. So people are like looking to you, and when you do work for yourself, when you're blogging and vlogging and doing it, you have to deliver. But where I can, I try and take that time to make sure that I've got the balance. I still think I'm juggling. I don't think I've got it right all the time. So it's an ongoing thing. I think that I have to reassess. But every mum I know has mum guilt in some way. And in fact, I remember a teacher once saying, I think I was at drama school, and she said to me, the moment you have children, the moment you get pregnant, you feel guilty. And you do. You absolutely do. Thank you, great. Yes?
I don't have children, but I get mother guilt about my Shih Tzu.
Where is he?
But no, so my question is, who came up with the idea for the Player 2 video? Because that was epic. Was it you or Tom? And do you feel like a pressure, like you to have a third baby, like what the video?
There was a pressure on this one. So you were like, look, we did those pumpkins in the last one. If this one doesn't get a video, he's already going to have second child syndrome and feel less important. So yeah, I guess there is a pressure, but it's a pressure in the sense that we're both creative and we like coming up with ideas. That idea was purely Tom's idea. I mean, yeah. He was like a total geek out, loving life. But yeah, the pressure is on if we have a third.
Amazing.
We should probably start brainstorming now. I'm not pregnant, I'm just saying it's going to take that long to make your video. Yes, go ahead.
Obviously you and Carrie and Tom all got into acting and stage school very young. Would you kind of steer Buzz and Buddy that way if they wanted to?
If they wanted to, I think it's all down to them if they want to. Carrie and Tom, so Bob was in a band when they were younger. Tom used to stand at the front of the stage and just kind of like strum along on his guitar. And so I guess they kind of had that around, but they were never pushed. And I moved school when I was 9. So I used to be badly bullied. And I used to walk around and, because no one wanted to be my friend, I used to walk around, sing songs to myself and act out little things, probably why I was bullied, just in out there. And but when I moved when I was 9, I suddenly found out that I could sing, and I was put in a place, and I suddenly discovered this love of the creative arts, and that kind of it just kind of shifted stuff for me. And actually, I saw Sylvia, on Lion Kicking, and she was talking about something, and I don't know if the school number came up, but I can remember looking them up, and I phoned up and asked for the prospectus, and then sorted out my audition for the scholarships without my mum and dad knowing. So they definitely weren't pushy. What's that, we're going to London? Yes, they weren't pushy, and I don't think I would be pushy, because I do think that to do anything in life, you have to have your own drive and your own passions, and being in that school, I mean, there were 140 of us when I started. That's it, out of year 5 to 11. And so there's not a lot of people, and you've got to want it. You've got to have that passion, and so only if they want it. Yeah. Great. There's some right at the back there. Yeah. Hi. Hello.
I'm due for my second in May, and I just wanted to maybe have a couple of top tips to how to introduce this one at the moment to the new baby.
What's the age difference?
I'm going to in March.
Aww.
So
It's not that different actually from ours.
No.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
only just 2 under 2.
There's no real answer. We gave Buzz a present from Buddy, which was a torch, and he loved it. But to be honest, he was so excited. Like Buzz always used to we used to talk about the baby in Mummy's tummy, and he used to talk to the baby and cuddle it and stuff. And I knew that it was going to be a shock when the baby actually arrived. There's a book, Inside Mummy's Tummy. It's like, look, it's called something like What's Inside Mummy's Tummy?
My mum's bought various books.
Oh really? Oh, you start now, but it'll be in their brain now. There are great books as well, just to kind of get it. And Buzz still reads that now, weirdly. There's another baby on the tummy. There really is not. So I think if letting them feel included, it worked for us. When we were meant to stay at the hospital for 2 nights, and literally, so I gave birth at 2:15 on a Tuesday morning, and we left the hospital at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because we were just we want Buzz to be a part of this actually, and I thought I want to be in the hotel, in the hospital. It feels like that sometimes. I want to be in the hospital, and I want to be relaxing and not having to think about that. I want to bond. But actually, it just felt incomplete. It felt like Buzz needs to be there, and for us, I couldn't think of Buzz being at home and not being a part of it, or just wondering where we were, wondering why our baby was taking us away.
My only concern with this.
Oh, sorry.
My daughter, my first is she was almost 5 weeks early, so we were in hospital for 3 days.
Yeah.
So I suppose my concern is that Abby's going to be at home whilst I'm in hospital. So
I guess it's preparing them as well, yeah. Just preparing them, just talking to them about what's coming. I think that's what happened with us. But then when we actually did bring Buddy home, we was in his car seat. Buddy didn't see him for about 20 minutes. He did not notice that he was there. Because it was his bedtime, but both sets of grandparents were there, lit in the night gardens while he was running around. You know, he knew this was abnormal. And he just didn't notice him for about 20 minutes. And then he just wouldn't stop kissing him. And it was the best sight ever. I mean, it is push and shove. Like nowadays, it's kind of like pushing 1 minute, or it'll be a kiss, you'll be like, oh, that's so sweet, and then a big shove down. I think I think for me, being inclusive is the best thing we can do. But I think every child's different, and every home is different, and they're all going to go through their moments. Very good. Yes.
You vlogged about you taking your boys when he was quite little all the way to Australia, which I, as a parent of a toddler, think is admirable and very brave. How was that experience for you, and giving him time again? Would you do it again?
Yeah, because we went to Australia for 3 weeks.
How old was he?
He was 11 months. Actually, he was 10 months when we first. I actually did the audiobook for the, so I read it all out loud for the audiobook. And I've noticed that at one point I say that he was 10 months, and the other point that I say that he's 11 months, he was 10 and a half months. And then 11 and a half months, and we came back. I would do it again, because it was just amazing. And to be honest, I think what I would say to myself would be to relax. I think I'd watched far too many. I think I just watched on a TV programme someone saying that children shouldn't fly, children shouldn't be allowed to fly. They thought it was irresponsible and rude, and that there should be a whole area where the children are kept. And I love this programme. And it put the fear of God in me. Literally, I got on that plane and I thought, everyone here hates me. Straight away, they all hate me. They're looking at me and they're thinking, what are you doing? You're going to ruin his flight, which probably some of them were. But I tried my best, and at first, because it was like it was a really late flight, and so Buzz fell asleep before we even left, and then he woke up, and they had these really nice like cot beds type things, like we flew Qantas, we had these nice like cot beds, but they have these like huge seatbelt things that go over the top, which are amazing because if there's any turbulence, you don't actually have to get your baby out, so they're really secure. But imagine being 10 months old and waking up and seeing all these, like you're in a cage. So he woke up and he screamed and screamed and screamed. And every time I tried to put him back down, he would scream. And I just cried. I cried. Izzy took him away from me. Because I was with Izzy and Georgia, so Danny and Harry's wives, the black guys. And she only took him away from me for like 30 seconds. I cried, Georgia cuddled me, and I was like, pull your crap together, sort it out. And I just took him, and I let him sleep on me. And the rest of the plane journey, I just kind of got into a groove then. I'd let him sleep, and then whenever because time zone as well, I don't have to stick to a sleep pattern. You know, he'd wake up, we'd go and have a play, he'd have some food, and then 2 hours later we'd go and have a cup and we'd go back to sleep. So I think I would say to myself, I'd definitely do it again, just don't be so fearful. No, and actually, the best thing that happened on that flight, I think it was one of the first times that I really experienced it, after I cried. So the best tip really is just to cry, then people know that you're really feeling it. I had a few different mums and just parents, they were all just really lovely to me, and I had people going, you're doing such a good job. I thought, I'm not, but thank you. And I just think, I think if you're doing your best, that's all you can do. So, yeah, I would definitely do it again.
Very good. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to wind up, partly because I want to give you all a chance to meet Giovanna in person. She's going to be sticking around to sign your books. And so sorry to those of you who didn't get a chance to ask a question, but you can ask her in person. So thank you so much to all of you for being such a great audience, asking such great questions. Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook Live. Thank you to Waterstones for hosting. And thank you and congratulations on this great book, Giovanna Fletcher.